It's on me. All right, here we go. So, my name is Jesse Orion. We're here on the 3 Count Podcast.
Do you want to get live with me? Do you really want to ride with me?
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And by season 4, after like our 300th episode, I would just think you say it with me, I am your Sherpa. Because just like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient than you can. And that's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring today? You can find this man at EWA and SWA. He is a former EWA heavyweight champion. He is the man known as the Lucky One, the Lucky Stars, the greatest of all Lucksters. He is Jesse Orion.
What's up, Cliff?
What's up, man?
That was great. I'm gonna hire you as a personal announcer, I think.
You know what? I'm not objective to that. You know, I know some people maybe add another promotion, like the 3-letter kind of AEW, but just rearranged. Maybe their announcer wouldn't appreciate that, but hey, you know what? I'll do whatever.
yeah. It could be. You know, we'll work it out. It'll be a match stipulation. Decide who gets to be my personal announcer.
Yeah, I'm not objective to that. You know,
right.
Hey, what is it? Ricardo Rodriguez. He had a great career just being Alberto's announcer.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I guess the only you know, he can do the graps too pretty well too. I've seen his work. He's actually really good behind the scenes. So
I think he run a school. I think
he does. He runs a school in like Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Like yeah. So and then he has his own promotions and stuff like that. Shout outs to Ricardo Rodriguez because he's actually doing big things. And I know we had a couple guys that used to train at our facility actually go up there to like do like finishing school and get some stuff going. So doing some big things. So hey, big shout out to him.
There you go.
But how are you, man? Like, what's up?
I'm doing good. Yeah, coming off of I don't know. Should I say that I'm coming off of Memorial Day weekend here? I don't know how far ahead this is gonna get posted, but
well, they know now. The guy did.
Yeah, my bad. We'll just cut that out. No problem.
It's no problem. No, we're not editing nothing out.
Generic long weekend. Did some cooking out and hanging out with the family. I'm good.
You know, it's cool because like one of my things is that we actually met at EWA and then we ran into each other again at SWA and then we just keep meeting each other again and again at EWA and then we actually just saw each other actually at Memorial Day weekend at Fight and we had such great conversation and I think we had like really fun chemistry too because there's like you've been doing this for like a little while and you just have like this openness of like wanting to give back and to help and like make sure like stories are told right. Yeah. And you have just like this eye for like detail of like being able to make stories make sense. And that's something that I like really appreciate when I get to like talk with you and chat with you, especially when people are putting together matches. You're just always like in the middle, like listening.
Yeah. I think that's actually, I feel like sometimes I'm just sitting there listening while other people are like discussing. And I kind of like, we were calling something a few weeks ago, and I noticed that you and I were kind of just hanging out in the background, like listening to other people. And that's usually that's where it starts for me. Is like, I don't know that I have necessarily the best mind when it comes to like what things to do when we're putting different pieces of a match together. But it's like, oh, if we're gonna do that, maybe we add this in, add a little twist, make it tied into something, like I think I'm I don't know, I'm not great at laying down the groundwork, but I do like to add in things to kind of like pull it all together.
Yeah, some people are like just really good at like setting down together like the skeleton or like the base of what like you're trying to accomplish in like the wrestling match, and then like even for like, let's be real, like for the eliminator match is like ridiculous because you have all sorts of stipulations that are going on. And for those who are wondering like what we're talking about, EWA has run their 3rd eliminator match. What the eliminator is you have, it's essentially Survivor Series, but every time somebody gets pinned, the stipulation of the match changes. So you normally start off with like a regular wrestling match, and then
Yeah.
it'll be like this year they had a sumo match and they had a high jump contest.
High jump, yeah.
I think last year, wasn't it last year? It was like a Highland street fight.
I think so, yeah, with the Grimy Scots. Yeah. They did they did the floor is lava one time.
They did the floor is lava.
And I think that one was just really rough. Like the fans weren't quite getting it. It wasn't I don't know if it wasn't explained clearly enough, or if you really can explain that clearly enough when going. It's like, well, is the canvas lava? Is the actual floor lava? You know, so like it was like, I think that one kind of weird.
Yeah, that was kind of a miss. I did watch. I remember being at I was at another show and they told me about like the eliminator match, and I was interested, but then I got asked to be at another show and I was defending a title, so I was like, let me go. I got to go do this. I have obligations. But then like I saw the match and I was like laughing so hard because I thought the idea of the floor is lava was genius.
Yeah.
Right. Because like now everybody either has to be on the ropes or you're off the mat or you're jumping on the post. You know, I saw that. It was just a fun concept of something that like so many people like in this business or in this performance or whatever you want to call this sport, they take it so seriously that they forget like we have so much fun doing the things that we're doing.
I think those are moments I like. I mean, you can't constantly be doing it, but I do like moments where we get to let the crowd see that we're having fun with it too. Like, you know, it can't be in necessarily even a moment in every single match, but a match like the Eliminator is perfect for that. You get some serious moments, you get some silly moments, and it kind of like helps kind of like, I don't know, give people some ups and downs rather than just like everything being like just super like intense and serious the whole time.
Yeah, but it is, and you're right. Like I do love the idea that we're kind of taking people on like this giant roller coaster ride, and they're just like there's twists and turns and laughters and stuff like that. It is a lot of fun to be a part of something like that. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about though, right? Is that like you trying to put together like this base plan. And when you're putting this base plan together of like, hey, I want, you know, we're going to do this, this, and this. And the story that we're trying to tell is that we have this, this, and this. And that, you know, like we can even tap back to when we were at Harvard of Grace and we got to work. And being at Harvard of Grace, we had our tag match where it was Rico, myself versus you and Jason Drake. And then what happened was in the match we were talking about, you know, this was finally your guys' moment where you're going to get a victory.
The one moment you guys have to lose. We're going to share as a team. Yeah, that's it.
And then finally you guys got that big win, and it was going to lead into you guys getting some momentum going into the Eliminator, which ultimately, you know, was a fun story to be able to tell because like you guys were down and you guys got up and you guys were down again, and then finally you guys got the win. And it was cool to be a part of that because you were in there and you're like, hey, all right, this is the story we're telling, this is the base plan. And we can do this, here. You were really good about sprinkling like for a better term, right? Sprinkles on the cake. Like you were just like, I got all of this.
I'll dress it up a little bit. Like, you know, yeah. I think that's the thing that I kind of do try to like keep an eye on, and it's hard, especially like the kind of the indie shows in general. There's not a lot of people following week to week, or not week to week, even month to month, show to show. But I think that anything you can do to tie what you're doing now to things that people have seen before gives them a little light bulb that goes off and they're like, oh yeah, that's right. And then they're like, oh, maybe I need to like keep up with this a little bit more. You know, like it helps like kind of pull people in when they see that you're doing things that they can remember and they acknowledge that, I guess.
That's why I love being a part of like, because like with EWA, like you do have like you do have the Harvard Grace place, and then you also have, you know, of course you do have like we have the Bel Air shop too, and like going there, and then we had the promo where it was like we kind of like tied in some stuff in Harvard Grace, right? Then we went to and we did a promo where like Hamish and Corey were doing their match, and then you know obviously Ignorant Dogs and Rico, like we jumped into that, and then we turned around and that started to build up, and then we went back to Harvey Race. We told another part of the story where it was the tag match, and then
Yeah.
we came back to the Eliminator. I thought it was so much fun that over 4 shows we got to tell like this nice little story about hey, like there's all this momentum building up to the Eliminator, which is going to be one of the craziest matches you're going to see.
Yeah.
And it was.
yeah, it was nuts in the right ways. And honestly, like I was, you know, like I shouldn't, maybe this is, I don't, it's not gonna, I hope it doesn't come off the wrong way. I was surprised at how neatly everything kind of went off with that match. You and me weren't in it for a long time, but there were a lot of moving pieces and stuff that had to be nailed down, and we didn't even have everybody there until pretty close to the show starting. So putting all that together and having it pull off and work as well as it did, I think I was really pleased with it.
Yeah, I think it goes back to just like obviously having your booker like give you the skeleton plan of like what they're looking for, and then it goes into you gotta have to trust the vets that they're gonna have to lead. And then unfortunately on our side, right, myself, Chaz, Prince, Noah, and Enrico, right, we're all pretty receptive. Like we're gonna follow along, we're gonna listen, you know, we'll have our 2 cents we'll throw here and there, just kind of help. But overarching, like we understand that hey, we're gonna listen, we're gonna hear what you guys gotta say, and then if we can add in and make some cool things like stick out, then we'll also throw in some cool things. But for the most part, you know, like I said, you know, Corey kind of like grabbed the handles, and then him and Sly just kind of like talked about what they were looking for, what they wanted to do, and then everything else just kind of fell into place. And we all were just like, hey man, we know what we got to do. We're gonna make our moment shine, and then we're gonna take off and go from there.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask, man, like, what brought you into wrestling?
Oh, a long time ago, you know, when I was in high school, you know, it was like the sort of just after the peak of the Attitude Era. You know, SmackDown had just actually started airing on network TV, and as a kid I didn't have cable or anything, so like I was finally able to like get into it and start following along. And you know, it was a thing that I was like, always just like, oh, that'd be so cool if I did it. And then, you know, life happened, and 20 years later, I was like, well, maybe not 20, 10, 15 years later, I was like, well, if I'm gonna do this, I need to do it sooner rather than later, because it's just I'm not definitely like, not that I was old, but I definitely was like at the point where I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be getting any younger. I need to like, you know, I just wanted to make it happen. I you know, and it was just more about proving, I guess, to myself that I could just go out and accomplish the idea of like, you know, going through the training and learning all the day one stuff all the way to the end, and just being able to like execute a full and complete match was like, that was just it. That was the goal for me. It was like, I just wanted to like know that I was capable of doing it and get out and do it. And I, you know, and then I did, and it was super fun. I loved every bit of it, and I just kept doing it. So, you know,
I think it's one of those things too. Like for me, like I didn't really start training until like I was 34, turning 35, and that's after like accomplishing like a lot of things that like, and you know, I've talked about this like on other podcasts and on this show as well, but like, you know, my dad was like a big influence on me, and he'd always be like, hey man, like I think you need to join the military. So I like went and joined the military. He was like, hey, you know, you're going to go to college after high school, so you need to go, you know, work on wrestling. And I was an amateur wrestler, and I went and wrestled at the college level and then joined the military. And so like I kept putting everybody else's like stuff in front of me. And when I got out of the military, right, like my dad made a suggestion like, hey, I think you should go back to college and get your degree. And that was something that I wanted to accomplish too. So I went ahead and did it. And then like once I finished everybody's stuff that they had asked me to do, I was like, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
Because I put so many people in front of me that I haven't thought about like what I wanted. And so at the ripe age of 34, you
There
know,
you
I was
go.
like, hey, let me go. I ran into a friend who was running in the dark arts, as most people will call it, or you know,
Uh,
the backyards.
sure, sure,
Uh,
sure.
and I was like, yo, let me see what this is about. So I got involved, and then I happened to run into our friend who was eliminated in the Flores Lava match, Van
Sure.
Williams. He actually pulled me out. He was like, no, I want you to go. I want you to meet Sicken. I want you to talk to him, and
Mhm.
I want you to start training. So I was like, okay, sure, if I
Yeah,
can make this happen. And for me, it was just like you, right? Can I just do this?
yeah,
Like, is this something? Because there was like a few times where I thought to myself, like, yeah, this isn't going to happen. And I started getting better and started understanding and concepting and learning. And the one thing that I started to realize was that wrestling had become like my like sanctuary, like my mental relief,
yeah,
like everything that have been looking for, and actually gave me like a huge confidence boost. And I was like, this is everything I've been wanting to do. And I
yeah.
got addicted to it. And I was like, I need professional wrestling. And I was like, I wish I would have done this 10 years ago because it would have
Yeah.
made more sense.
Part of me is like, oh man, I could have done a lot more if I had started earlier. But the other part of me is like, when I was younger and dumber, I would have done a lot more stupid things to try to get over. So like, I can live with where we are now. And yeah, I was kind of, we don't have the exact same story, but it's very similar. As like I had lived a whole life and started a career and was working. And one of the people I was working with is EWA's own Apollo Crews, not WWE's Apollo Crews, but the original one. Um, and I got to know him, and I found out he was doing it, and I just started coming to shows, and I think one or two shows in of me attending, I was just like, I need to do this. Like, there's no like. Like I had completely just let the fantasy go up until that point, and I got there and I was watching. I was like, I have to. Like I just there's no choice at this point. I need to just do it. And so I told him, and he met me at the school and introduced me to Jim, and the rest is history.
See, and what's funny is that I didn't even attend my first indie wrestling show until like February of 2020.
Yeah,
Like I had no idea what the indies were. Like people
yeah,
had I knew that there was ways of like all these other wrestlers like coming through the system and like getting to like WWE or getting to like, you know, at the time it wasn't even, it was just to All Out, to Impact. I
yeah,
knew
yeah,
that there's ways to do it, but I just didn't know
yeah, yeah,
how these people did. Because I didn't even know there was, to be real, and a lot of people would be like, what? Like I didn't even know there was wrestling schools.
yeah,
Like I had heard all these things, I'd never seen them physically. So to me, I was just like, you just got to get lucky. I just don't
yeah,
understand. And then
yeah,
like
yeah, right.
to find somebody who was
Be
like, no, I
good,
know this
and
person.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Have this look.
I mean, that's the story of how people used to get discovered just working as bouncers or like car salesmen and things like that, and some wrestler would visit their establishment, and if they had to look up at that person, they'd be like, "You want a job?" And like
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, when you look at someone like Sheamus, right? Sheamus was in the gym lifting at the
yeah,
same place that Hunter was lifting at, right? And
yeah,
Hunter looked at him and was like, "Oh, you should be a wrestler." It's like, oh, that's how it works. And so for me,
yeah,
I was like, if I go to the gym and I start working out, right? Like, I don't know. I needed to get healthy, first of all, because one,
yeah,
I was like 230 and I was like 36% body fat. Like I
yeah.
was just like not in a good place. And fortunately, my daughter, who like now just laughs every time I tell the story, she was telling me I was getting squishy. And
Okay,
when my wife laughed at that comment, I realized that I had become that guy. And I was like,
yeah,
I need to like go to the gym.
yeah,
And then it just so happened at Retro Fitness where I was in Catonsville. I had ran into a dude named Justin Burns, aka Chris Idol.
okay,
And he when I ran into him at that gym, I started lifting with him. And then like we only lifted like one day together. But then I ran into him randomly at a grocery store and we started talking more then. And that's what all kind of led everything off. But it's that idea that like you've got to hope to get discovered by someone, or someone looks at you and they see something and you're like,
right,
yeah, you're gonna be that guy. And you're like,
yeah,
what, how do you know? And so
Yeah,
when you see somewhere like WWE and then you're like, see all these mammoth giants, you're like, man, that dude's incredible.
yeah.
How did he get into
He must have just
wrestling?
been
And you
born
find
with
out.
it, you know, like
He got in, he knew a guy who
had
knew a
good
guy who
genes.
got him into
Yeah,
WWE. Because I always thought they were just families. You know what I mean? Like, let's be
yeah,
real. Like the Anawahi family just keeps pumping out more talent to
yeah. And
WWE.
like the Anderson family, there's like a billion Andersons in wrestling, you know, they just,
Yeah, so I was like, yo, you just got to be born in one. The Von Erichs, like, you just got to be
yeah,
born into that family. You got to be born to the Hart family or like a protege of Shawn Michaels, and like
right.
you'll get found. I'm like, I never understood. And so when
Yeah,
I got introduced to the indie scene, I was like, oh, now I see all these. And it's also weird too, because like the ability to network with so many people randomly
yeah,
and connect. And you're
yeah,
always like one connection away from somebody who is like somewhere you want to be. And it's
yeah,
to me, it's just mind blowing.
yeah.
But one thing that we were talking about on air before we off air before we came on air, right, was something that you had brought up, right, and it was about networking, right, because like you had mentioned that you kind of starting to feel this way about like moving on and like branching out to other
Yeah.
places, right,
Yeah, I think
and
moving on is maybe not the right term, but just expanding. I think
yeah, 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 yeah,
being open to
expanding.
additional opportunities.
Yeah, sorry. I know people are watching. I didn't mean moving on. I meant expanding out to different
Yeah,
places.
let's
So like,
clarify.
but it is something to be told, right? Because like this business, what thing is that like, and it was something that I don't know if you were in the room when Eel O'Neill broke this down to me, right? But it was something that is going to stick with me forever. He was like, um, I was talking about how I was in Gabe Sprokowski's I was in his spaces, right? And
Mhm.
he had wrestling open, well, Beyond was in there, right? And
Yeah,
Drew was in there, and Drew was talking, and I had mentioned about wanting to get back up to the wrestling open and get on the show and possibly work and stuff like that, right? Just putting it out there. And apparently Drew was going through my Twitter profile, and I didn't know that, but he's like, "Oh,
yeah,
well, you have a picture of Becca, you should have her vouch for you." And I was like, "I want to get there on my own accord," like,
yeah,
and I mentioned that, and Eel goes, "That's nice." He's
yeah.
like, "But when you go through Netflix, do
Mhm.
you read every description, or do you have your friends tell you about
Mm.
what they liked and you want to watch it?" And I thought about that, and I was like, I've been alive for 37 years, and I've just now realized that I
Yeah,
only
yeah.
go off of suggestions. I was
Right,
like,
right, right.
this is crazy.
Yeah.
But like,
Hmm.
to think about that, like, sometimes like the best way to like to get into certain places, it's a network, right? And that's
Yeah.
what we have to do and to kind of reach out. So I guess for you, I guess I'm just kind of curious as to like, you were at Fight, but then like you're just now starting to branch out. What do you think's been like kind of like holding you back from like breaking out?
I think a lot of that comes from whether it's a lack or not a lack, a sense of self-preservation. In that, like at least very early on, I was terrified of either getting hurt or hurting somebody else, and it was just easier to handle that feeling working on shows and with people that I had trained with and was more comfortable with. But even after kind of that passed, I think I just didn't feel like necessarily I had, I don't know, whatever magic kind of worked for me at EWA. I didn't know that if I just went somewhere else, I could do the same thing. And over time, I realized I don't need to do the same thing if I go somewhere else. Like that's actually a benefit of going somewhere else is you can go do different things, or you can try and see what works. And so it just like, I guess a lack of self-confidence, it just kind of kept me in my comfort zone maybe for a little too long. And so I have to make concerted efforts to like step outside of that comfort zone and reach out and engage and do the networking that you're talking about, because yeah, what Eel said is pretty spot on. That like, because I was kind of the same way. It's like, like, oh well, if I'm going to get somewhere, I kind of want it to be like, I want to hear maybe from the promoter themselves. It's like, or I should just let my friends put in a good word and get me in front of the promoter, and then I can still, interact and sell myself that way. So I don't know. I think just mental barriers and roadblocks were in the way for a long time. And I think that may have also done damage in some promoters' eyes, just of maybe I'm now perceived as I'm just an EWA guy. Like that's just where I work, and that's the only place I'm going to work, and I can't work any, so I don't know. I think I have to overcome some hurdles there, but I'm working on it.
It's one of those things too. It's just like one for you. I can justify and put out there like, hey, that you're not just an EWA guy, right? You're in SWA as well.
That's
but more
right.
importantly,
Thank you,
you're more importantly, like you're a good hand. Like you're like you said,
you.
like at the beginning of the top, right? At the top of the show, we were talking about how you have like this mind for being able to add a little spice to like everything to make everything like kind of flow more smoothly. And it's one of those things that like and it's one of those things where I had to get over like the idea like, oh, I need to like keep working and like maybe the WWE thought process. If I keep working, somebody's gonna notice me, and then I can get into this. I'm the diamond in the rough, damn it. Like,
right. And like for me, like it was a friend that I made who like got my foot in the door. Like that's how I showed up, was through a friend. So why not be willing to like rely on some of those contacts and let them do a little bit of the work so I can get my foot in the door somewhere else.
And see, for me, like this was something that I thought about because, like, even for me, I went up to Massachusetts last year and I had a dark match with Evander James on the Wrestling Open.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it even happened, right, is I reached out to a friend of mine who wrestles up there weekly, Tyree Taylor of Prolific, and I asked him, I was like, "Yo, what time is set up? What time is does the door open?" Right, and he was like, "Be there at 4:30." And I was like, "Cool." Showed up at 4:30. Just started help setting up the ring. Didn't even think anything of it. And then, one thing was asked like, hey, I remember there was another dude there too. This was the craziest part. The guy was, he's like, hey, are you guys gonna have any practice matches? And the promoter told him just justifiably, we don't know. Right. So he's like, all right, well, thank you. And he shook his hand and he walked out the door. And then the promoter came up to me, Evander James, Diego Trabajador, and there was another guy in there too. I can't remember his name. But all four of us, he's like, yeah, you guys want to do a practice match? A couple practice matches? And I thought it was a tag match. Like I had in my mind, for some reason, I had it in my mind, it was a tag match. It was 2 single matches that were 5 minutes long, right? And I was like, oh, wow, I'm dumb. And
I would have thought the same thing. Like I would have been like, oh, we're either doing a 4-way or a tag here.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a lot of fun regardless. But I get it. And I remember like just being there, and I had the same thought process of like in front of the peers, right? I just freaked out. Like I haven't even seen the footage back, right? And I've asked for it. It's not like I haven't, but I had just this like I had a good match, right? We'll call it passable because like there was no big mess ups. There wasn't anything wrong with it in practice. It's just me and my character side of things. I wasn't comfortable at the time being a heel. I was just there.
Okay.
And I kept Evander safe, and we worked with each other and we did a great job. But it was that I was just lacking like the confidence of just like knowing that I was like, I can do this. I can be here. Yeah. And I think getting that information and seeing it and then working with other people who were on the show on, the Wrestling Open, see me at other promotions after that, they are like, oh no, we're going to talk and get you back up there so that you can work. Now, crazy enough, by the time that you guys see this, I will already be in Massachusetts. But it's like, now I have those friends, and now all I got to do is ask them like, hey, look, I don't want a match. I just want the opportunity to show up to a show, to help set up, just to be there, set up some chairs. It's something, and just like you, right, for on Sunday. Yeah. If I show up, right, and I set up some chairs, I help out with the ring and stuff like that, at least I can get face-to-face with a promoter and talk to him. And that's all I really want. Yeah. So, and that's where I guess you can start utilizing those networks and connections to get yourself like in front of those people that you're looking for.
Like I said to you not that long ago, you find any good spots up in Massachusetts, you let me know.
Of course, it's like it's not even a question.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's funny because because I worked at one spot, like one promoter saw me and then they're like, hey, we want to bring you over to this show. And I was like, all right, cool. So I go over there, start working. And they're like, well, because you're friends with this person. Because let's be real, like a lot of the bookings, and I'm gonna be honest when I say this, a lot of the bookings I have received, right, were because of Sicken, like telling people like you should book this guy.
yeah,
And then on top of that, working with Prince and Chaz and Noah of Pure Ignorance, right?
yeah.
Like that has also opened up a lot more stuff for me. Because the funny thing is all last year and the year before that, like I had worked as a babyface, never even thought about working as a heel.
I can't
And
imagine you as a babyface. I need to go look through the Red Dog archives and see babyface Red Dog. Wow. Because I
yeah,
think you're great. Like you interact, you draw the heat, you draw the heat from the crowd, and you throw it right at me. Like it's yeah. So
it's one of those things. And it was a thing that like working with Chaz and Prince, like really like helped me like hone that in to focus and learn how to be like I don't want to say a good heel because I'm not. I'm decent heel. I
you're
think
good. You're pretty good.
I think there's more work that we can do.
Always.
But I love like I became like infatuated with becoming a heel
Yeah.
and and let's be real, like even face Red Dog he's still a heel. It's just
I mean, you're constantly covered in or surrounded by Deadpool merch, and so like I mean, like the idea of an anti-hero, it makes it very easy if you can channel that energy. Like, you just lean a little more to one side than the other when you need it, and you get baby face or you get heel.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things like I got to practice being a heel, so when I go to some other place, right,
Yeah.
I can still work and hone on that side of things and learn, right? Like I really can't wait because go work at New England Pro Wrestling Academy right up in Massachusetts as well, and just be able to go pick the brains of everybody at that school because
Yeah.
a couple of my friends go there and they work there and I've seen how great they do outside of like everything. And now I'm just like, man, I can't wait to work either babyface or heel at whatever promotions that they want me to, and
every opportunity to do that is an opportunity to learn and to hone that side of it a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that like what my hope is, right, is that like over the next 6 months, right, of like working, like people are gonna be like, oh yeah, we want to get that guy in here too because he's either a great face or a fucking great heel.
Yeah.
But regardless, we want him in here, and then
Right.
and I want that to open up to new places because my goal, right, for 2024 is to not only wrestle on WrestleMania weekend because let's be real, like that is the goal for like a lot of indie wrestlers, but also I want to work at New England Wrestling, like and I think that's gonna be awesome. I want to work at Limitless and Beyond. Those are two great places that I can't wait to even get there. And then of course like Pro Wrestling Grind because I'm just a huge fan of their work. So I'm like,
Okay.
I need some fun.
Now you're making me feel like I need to set some goals or something here. I'm like,
make those goals. But the thing is, though, is that you've already set your goal, right? And it's funny for me, not that this is a therapy session, but it kind of feels like one.
It feels good.
Yeah, but I think a goal for you, right, is to like because last year I made it a point to wrestle in 10 different promotions that I didn't have wrestled in, and then to wrestle in at least 7 different states, right?
Okay.
And it didn't matter if I had worked in Maryland or not, right? I just counted Maryland as one state, and then obviously going to Virginia. So I made a point to make it 7. I made it to 5. Plus, I got to work in DC for the first time, which was something I never thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
And there was so much that had like opened up. So this year, like I was like, yo, I'm working like 6 different states, and I want to work in like 10 different promotions again, right? And now, crazy enough, because I'm moving, I have that opportunity.
Possibilities. Yeah.
Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Maine, New York, New Jersey again, right? Actually, I was just in New Jersey when you guys see this I had
Yeah.
been at ADLL. So, but it's I think for someone like you, right? Because you are one, a steady hand, but two, you also like, I think for you, it's time to like start pulling on some of those strings and be like, hey, look,
Yeah.
I would like to work at this promotion, that promotion. I think you fit great with Frontier Pro Wrestling. I think like Miguel would definitely, it would be an injustice to not have you there with him, because you can work pretty much everybody there and you're really good at it. And I think you should definitely hit that spot and go work there. I think finding a place like, working at a battle royale for one CW, and then getting
Mhm.
back into like, hopping
That's
back
true. Yeah, like
over.
Delaware's another state. That's I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna set a goal of 7 states, but you know.
3. Set a goal of 3,
3. All right.
not including Maryland. So then
Oh,
4 states.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it works. I think for you, I think you find it, and I think you'll open up, and then more people will see you, and then pretty soon this promotion is gonna want you, that promotion is gonna want you, and then
Yeah.
things will start rolling for you, because
Then I'll have to
like,
start turning down bookings because I'm just too busy, you know.
and it is what it is at that point.
I think I'm a long way off from there. But no, that's yeah. I appreciate your vote of confidence, and yeah, I think that if I'm going to continue doing this, then I just need to, like you said, cut some of those strings and kind of like, well, fly a little bit, take some
Yes.
chances, take some risks.
Take some risks, because
Yeah.
you know what, you deserve it.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So listen, man, I'm gonna ask you 2 questions that I love asking every person that comes on here, right? One of them is being, what is the worst bump you've ever taken?
I think the worst one that I remember taking it was unfortunately in training. And I was working with somebody who had been around a while, and I trusted them, and it's no fault of his. I volunteered to be a guinea pig as he tested something out, or was trying to remember how to do a move that he had done a long time ago. And it essentially ended up being like a lifting inverted DDT. So like, it starts almost Scorpion Death Drop style, but then lifted and then dropped. And I remember just hitting the mat, hearing a crack, and like just seeing stars. And I was like, that's bad. But that is, I think, fortunately, I think that's the only time that I've like hit my head, like genuinely been knocked loopy by anything in my time in wrestling. If that's the worst, I think I've, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, that's great though. I know I've taken, I don't want to say I've taken some like gnarly bumps, but I've definitely taken a couple that like I've questioned myself about. Like,
Yeah.
I took a Akira Tozawa like giant senton drop, and I thought that would be so cool to do. And
Off the top rope.
Yeah, off the top rope, and big jump too. And I wasn't prepared for it, and that hurt a lot.
Yeah.
I remember not that he's okay, so he's a very safe hand. It's just it was in practice, and I was like working on it, and he was working on something too. But I worked with Showtime Grimes. Everybody know Jeremy Grimes, and he was working on the Randy Orton Power Slam.
Oh,
and
yeah.
As I ran towards him to do it, I got scorpioned.
Oh no.
And then like I got back up. I remember getting back up, and I was like, "Yo, should I have flipped?" And he's just like, I mean, yeah, kind of. And I was like, "All right, cool. Let's do it again," because I didn't want to think about it, because I knew what happened, and I was like, "I'm not going to think about it."
It's like if something goes wrong, I want to try again and get it right, because I don't want to get it up in my head of like, oh well, it's just never going to work. Like,
yeah,
we'll get it right this time.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I was like, nope. Run it again. And then so I mean, I've taken some pretty like gnarly ones in practice, and in matches though, like I have yet to take one that just destroys me, which And like knock on wood, like I don't want to take one of those, but I'm grateful that the worst bump I've probably taken like in a
Yeah.
match would be like a giant bookend from like Andino, and like
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess like, you know, there's a couple like in actual matches. The very first time I jumped off the top of the cage onto Corey Bush, I expected it to be kind of a squishy landing. It was just a splash. He was laying down, and I just landed. It was like rock hard. It was like slamming into the mat. Like when I hit him, I was just like, oh god. That was a little uncomfortable. And then the last time I also did that in the my tag match with Art of War against them with Jason Drake, and I somehow managed. They were all up, waiting to catch me, and I somehow managed to slide in between. So like one was in front of me and two were behind me, and I slammed into Jason and AK. Luckily, hard enough that like the impact there really is what broke my fall. But there was this moment of terror, and like I think my eyes were closed, and I just realized that like I was just in free fall after hitting them, and I had no idea like what my orientation was in space, where I was, how far off the ground, what what part of my body was going to hit first. I had no clue, and I like panicked in midair, and before I knew it, it was just a plain flat back bump. Like there's no issue at all. So like that one was terrifying, but actually not that bad of a bump to take either. So.
But all right, so the last thing I'll ask you, right? Been around for a couple years, so I'm sure you have one of these. And I just need to know. I got to get one do and one don't of the locker room.
Do's and don'ts of the locker room. Oh boy. I don't know. Do wear deodorant. I feel like that is an obvious one that probably gets said a lot on here. I hope it gets said a lot, but that also means that it's a thing that people worry about. So, yeah. Yeah, but definitely, don't be stinky. Wash your gear. I think that's it. Yeah, just mind your hygiene in general. I think is the best way to. If that's my do, then what's my don't? I don't know. Don't be an asshole. I don't know. Yeah,
I like that.
Be good to your fellow workers.
It's funny because like on this show we've had a lot of do's and don'ts, right? And like a lot of people like do, shake everybody's hand when you come to the locker room. Don't be that guy, right?
Yeah.
When I recently learned from Primal Fear, right, was like don't fall asleep in the locker room. I didn't even know like that was a thing. I found that out, and I was like, okay, don't do that.
Just don't.
And then I'm gonna add a do to this list. And Rico, don't get mad, but do clear everything through the booker
and the commissioner
and the commission if they have one.
If there's a commission, get your stuff cleared.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Rico Hendricks. I love you.
I love Rico, but my God. I have managed to get through like 4 years of this show.
Yeah.
And never thought about that. And then as soon as
it's something that if I was in his position, I could see myself doing and not thinking twice about it. Like I don't know. Yeah.
And the thing is like everything, and this is no slight, right? Rico, this is no slight, but everything made sense. Like that is the mind-boggling part of like the whole scenario. Yep. Everything made sense. We had just won the Eliminator.
Yeah.
We were celebrating.
Yeah.
It just made sense that we treated it like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's like
it was great. I love the idea of it. And I like if I was taking part in it, I wouldn't have even thought like, oh, I should check with the commissioner or whatever. Like, I don't know. I just But yes, if you're gonna do things outside of the norm, make sure your booker, your promoter, and the commissioner are cool with it. Um, yeah.
Yeah, 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 definitely. But listen, we're gonna go to my favorite part of the Three Count Podcast, and that is the Three Count Podcast 10 Count questions. And Mr. O'Ryan, this is how it works. I'm gonna fire off 10 questions at you, rapid fast,
Oh boy,
and whatever your answer is, that's your answer.
that's it. All right.
Yep. So I'm gonna put on the imaginary timer for added pressure.
Okay.
Bing! And in the words of my favorite commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Ooh, SmackDown.
Favorite actor?
Uh-oh. I don't know. I just watched Guardians, so I'm gonna say Chris Pratt.
Okay. Well, great. Marvel or DC?
Movies, Marvel, comics, DC.
Okay. Favorite movie?
The Ninja Turtles.
I love it. Apple or Android?
Android.
Favorite cartoon?
Transformers.
Bad. When this episode comes out, this will make perfect sense. Sub-Zero or Scorpion?
Sub-Zero.
Let's go. Favorite podcast?
Oh, obviously the 3 Count Pod.
This is what I've been telling people. Like, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Ooh. Has Saul done it? He had Saul on here?
I've had Saul on here. Yeah.
Rico?
Episode 201 for those who are wondering.
I'm gonna scroll back. I'm gonna go find it.
Yeah. Rico's actually. Yeah, Rico. Actually, we had
Rico's
Rico when he was. Yeah, we had Rico when he was before he was Rico Hendricks.
Oh, Diamante.
Yeah. Was it Mason originally? I don't know.
He's gone through.
He had a few names. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I will say this:
What?
pretty much the entire EWA roster has been on the show.
Yeah. That's the thing is I don't have a lot of. My network's not that large. Have you had Red Dog on?
You know what? Things to come. I think when this episode comes out, his episode may have been out.
All right, perfect.
But we'll go over. And last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on the show: favorite curse word.
I don't know. This should be a rapid fire. Fuck. There we go.
Yeah. See, there you go. It makes sense. First thought that comes to mind, you're just like, fire it off.
Yeah. I was like gonna start like explaining things, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna say it, and you know what?
Yeah, because the F word makes total sense.
Why.
Yeah, exactly. You can use that word everywhere, and that's all that matters. Red Dog says so. Actually, I think Red Dog's favorite curse word is Fuggenheimer. Like, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I think I've seen him at the family reunions.
Yeah. So, last but not least, the last thing I need from you is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Boy, I am on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and they're all different and like stupidly named. So I guess if you search for Jesse O'Ryan, you might find me on those platforms, but I'm terrible at social media, so it's a lot of outdated stuff and hard to find. That's a new goal. That's a new goal.
And that's just get it all. You know what? Make it easy. Get it all under one banner, and that's all.
That get like a link tree or something, and just tell people to go to my link tree, and it'll have links to all the other stuff. I should do that.
Even for me though, what I did was I legitimately took all my social media and changed it all, so it's just _Red Dog 85, like it says right there, _Red Dog 85, just because I was like, oh man, if I do all this, it'll be easy for everybody to find me. Yeah. Consequently, it'll also be easy for everybody I don't like to find me. So just like whatever. Take the good with the bad. Make
Yeah,
it
I
easy for
mean,
everybody.
I guess it's better to be more accessible to the people that you like, if you can.
Yep. But no, so like every great part of a wrestling match, we gotta take this home because he told you everything about him. He told you where you can find him, kind of,
Kind
on
of.
his social media. So we're gonna take this home because this is the 3 Count Podcast with that's now entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And like every good shepherd, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering the ring? You see him right there. Jesse O'Ryan, you know what that means. Tune in to the next episode and be there, or you're legitimately following us on all of our social media platforms that you see right there. You're subscribed to our YouTube channel. You're even following us on Spotify. You're leaving those 5-star paw fraud splash reviews on Apple Podcasts. You're even checking us out on Amazon Music because we're there too. You're even going to prowrestlingtees.com or even For Your Wear, and you're buying our merch at the 3 Count Podcast. You're doing all that stuff. You're telling your friends about us. You're telling your family about us. You're telling your pets about us. You're telling your enemies about us. Doing all that stuff. Well, you're really just kind of waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for the outro. And then you're choosing another episode to listen to.
Just keep them coming.
Peace.
You're gonna need a palate cleanser after this one.
Facts. Oh. Oh, I see you. How you doing, baby girl?
What's going on? It is Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And what we need from you guys is to kind of show some support, right? We want you guys to go to our YouTube channel at the 3 Count Podcast, go on to our Twitch channel, 3 Count Pod, or even our Facebook page, 3 Count Podcast, and just give us a like, follow, subscribe, even give us a comment, right? Do all that cool stuff. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your enemies, right? Or you can even come talk to us and just chat us up, right? Find us on Twitter at 3Count_pod. Find us on IG and on TikTok at 3Count Pod. Go ahead and leave us those comments. We want to hear from all of you guys. We're going to keep putting on videos and stuff like that. We want to keep making this content better, so we want your guys' support. Also, if you guys want to, go support us at prowrestlingtees.com/the 3 Count Podcast, or even find us on foryourwear.com. Give us the support. Show us your guys' love because we want to give it right back to y'all. So, in the meantime, between time, love y'all.